passion is awesome and love it, but I feel like all of us are incredibly disappointed, and at least the way my mind works is taking this moment, learning what we can from what has happened, and doing everything we can to avoid this going forward. Now, getting back to your point, what can we do going into, hopefully put ourselves in a position to play in October next year? And then once we're able to accomplish that, how do we put ourselves in the best position to be the hottest team during that stretch? I don't know the answer to that, but we'll definitely spend time trying to figure it out.
This isn't like track and field or boxing, right, where you...
Do you want to talk after?
Where you're kind of peaking for like a particular event, right? Boxing, you have like an 8-week training camp, or track and field, you kind of train according to, calendar, whatever. So given, right, and obviously no one's been able to kind of figure that out, right? Over the years, there are things that go in cold and get hot, whatever.
Right.
Does it feel at this point
lost a lot of games in the regular season, and then came in and now, have put themselves in a position to be in the NLCS. So it's easy after the fact, but before would you have said, hey, they're going to do this? No, because it's easy after the fact to say, okay, here's how they've played, here's what they've done with runners in scoring position, here's how they've handled different moments. Yeah, and there's no secret why they are where they are right now.
So do you feel like you just got on?
We got to move on to someone else.
Again, I answered this very clearly for you. If you want me to answer it again, I will. I don't know the answer in terms of how much of it is just baseball and how much of it is other things that we could potentially control. And an example is in the 7th inning, Will Smith hits that ball 100 miles an hour that happens to go to profile and not to his right or left. And Kim hits a ball, into the ground that happens to, because once he's playing up, go down the line. Like, had it been this far, much further over, it's a double play. So those things are what we both love about the game and can drive you crazy when you're on the other side of it. So how much of that is luck, how much of that is skill, how much of that is preparation? All great questions for us to debate ad nauseum.
Jack. In hindsight, is there anything, when you look at that 7th inning in particular, you guys would have done differently there?
Yeah, in hindsight, we would have done it totally different.
But obviously when
we would have positioned Trace a little differently. On Grisham's ball, we would have had Muncy play the line a little bit more.
But with the plan, like when you don't use Phillips and you have, you make a lot of decisions there, is that something you look at as, there's been kind of instances of this in years past where there's probably decisions that change in those spots and how you go about it in the regular season? Is that something that you kind of look at as a common theme here with some of these?
No, again, I think after a loss, there are narratives formed about what happened, and I get that. I mean, every day is a series of narratives, both positive and negative, but come as a result of what happened, and I totally understand that. I think that there are decisions that are 50-50 or 55-45, and if those moves would have worked, Dave would have gotten praise for them. Like, definitionally, if that's the case, which I genuinely believe is to be the case, it's hard on the other side to be too critical. You can say, hey, it would have been great if you had done something different with the benefit of hindsight. It's a hard thing when, like, in that moment, I think you could passionately argue different sides. And so many decisions like this don't have a clear right or wrong answer until after it plays out.
You don't think that innings sped up on him, though?
Jeez, what?
You don't think that innings sped up on him?
I don't.
Especially like in particular with like the Vessia thing.
I don't. I didn't know what happened with the first pitch, and then after it was a missed sign. Like, those things happened. I did not think that.
Do you know how that sign got missed yet?
I don't.
Wait, was this?
I'm not going to spend any time on that either. Like, getting into it like that.
But was this the most disappointing elimination you had here?
Yeah, probably. It's hard to like vividly remember each one because they're all terrible and devastating, and eventually you kind of pick yourself up and start to pour yourself into the next year. I felt way worse Sunday than I expected, and I expected low, and it hasn't quite hit an upswing yet, but it will at some point.
Great.
Andrew, we talk about analytics during the regular season and how well they worked, 111 games. Do you guys change your way of thinking when it comes to analytics for the postseason, maybe taking into consideration emotion or things like that? Like, help us explain how that works.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what analytics means, because it means something different to different people. I mean, from our standpoint, it's about being prepared. And it's about having scouting reports on the opposing players. It's about understanding their strengths and their weaknesses. It's about matching up our players' strengths against the other team's weaknesses. So I think it means different things to different people, but from that standpoint, it's about, like, everything is a series of kind of individual events that happens in a baseball game. And it's about trying to have the odds as much in our favor in every move that we can, as much as we can. And, you know, when a game starts, we have a lineup that we pick to face their pitcher, they have a lineup that they pick to face our pitcher, and then after, so there's the series of kind of individual battles, and then from there, it's our guys are picking relievers to come in and face their hitters, knowing they might hit, and it's just how to match up our guys' strengths against their weaknesses as much as possible. And I think it's similar in that that's the best way for me, whether you cared enough about a spring training game, whether it's a regular season game or whether it's Game 7 of the World Series, is to constantly try to put your players in the best position to succeed, which in turn gives you a better chance of winning. So that's how it kind of lands with me, but I think it means something different to different people.
All right.
Andrew, just also out of that seventh inning, really the pitching plan in Game 5 and 4 in general, another narrative is who makes those decisions? How much is it pregame?
Is that really a narrative?
I mean, part of it's like who's
After every single postseason, I've answered that question, so I don't feel like it is a narrative only based on like the question at the end of it that keeps coming out.
So does Dave make that decision?
100%.
To pull Tyler Anderson and put
100%, and we've answered this a lot of times. I'd really like not to answer it. Well, next year, hopefully, it's after a parade. But it's been very clearly answered here a lot of different times. If it ever changes, I'll let people know. I don't think it ever will, but if it ever does, I will let people know.
And then also, it seems like Dave's coming back. Can you confirm that?
Go.
Dave is coming back.
100%.
Okay. What do you make of the fact that teams in the past have made changes even after a successful season just because they need to change the voice? They need to change the voice in the clubhouse after some disappointment.
Yeah.
So this year it worked for the Phillies, they don't work with other teams. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I understand that. I don't feel like that's what we need. Again, if we felt like a different voice was going to help us cash in on those situations with runners in scoring position, yeah, then maybe we would. But again, some of, you know, again, if Will Smith's ball's 3 feet to Profar's left or right, it clears the bases as opposed to being a sac fly. I mean, there are those things that take place in the course of a game that I think it's important to tease out, like what part of it is baseball and what part of it is leadership. And I feel like Dave and his coaching staff did an incredible job to lead this team during the regular season to 111 wins. And I don't feel like it was a switch they then turned off, or the players got, you know, needed a different voice in those games. That's my personal belief, but I get that there are differing opinions on this, on a lot of different things, and appreciate that.
And then you mentioned changing levers, changing the pieces. Does that include coaching staff at all?
No, I don't anticipate it right now.
Dave.
Andrew, I have a question about somebody that actually played in the game. Mookie Betts, the last month of the season, was a 200 hitter, OPS not even at 600. David said on multiple occasions during the year that the offense goes as Mookie goes. How much of this and only winning one game in this series falls on his lack of production?
Yeah, again, that's in results, because if you go back and watch those 4 games, he hits the balls hard that got caught. If you want to point at like somebody, like he's really good at looking over a baseball, there were a few called strikes that weren't strikes. Again, that's baseball. It's not something that, but I think it's hard to isolate it down and say that he didn't, because I think there was some really good at-bats and some really good contact that happened to be at guys. coupled with looking over balls and ways, so I don't pinpoint any of it on him personally.